Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, everyone, to episode 186 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's with me tonight?
Ben.
Welcome.
Just Ben.
And welcome back. It's been a while. You haven't been on since the Brave Venture Musashi episode in like the 60s or 50s. My God, it was a long time ago.
It was.
God. And who else?
Since then.
And who else is? Thank you for rescuing me with me tonight. Lionheart.
Oh, is it me? Is it my turn?
Well, no, actually, it's Blair. Sorry, but you go. You go.
Where's Nasty Norg? I'm going after him. It's Commander Lionheart.
And I'm Blair Farrell from comicbookvideogames.com. And man, the music in this game is so criminally good, I think that someone should call the police.
No!
This game had music?
Hey, I understood that. Shut up! Shut your mouth, Michael Albertin.
I heard some, but not much.
But I understood that reference, Blair. I understood it.
And this is, well, one random thing I want to say. It doesn't matter, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Welcome to Season 10 of Games My Mom Found, which means nothing. I barely ever mention it. It only matters to me because I do the picks and I do it based on the season, but we're in Season 10. If that means anything, I just want to say
Congratulations.
I used to do like little round. I did
so tough.
Right. I wrapped up after the season, but that ended up being more work and I didn't care. So it did not last. But yeah, I do season. And this is technically first episode of Season 10. But we are here to talk about, because Emanuel convinced me to, Spyro the Dragon for PS1. It came out in 1998.
Mm-hmm.
Man. And this actually is a game my mom found. My mom actually bought me this game randomly because I love dragons, still do. And I just never finished. I got to the swamp and I didn't have 50 dragons, and either young Mike was too dumb to realize you can just look up what dragons are missing, or I just didn't care. I never finished the game. I just stopped there and never played again. That's my history with Spyro until this week.
Poor young Mike.
What about you, Ben? What's your history with Spyro?
Oh, so my history, I could get into a good story with this. Spyro was my first PlayStation game ever.
Hell yeah.
I don't know if any of you guys know my brother James. He's a very active member of the entire Overblood community. And so he had a PlayStation, but he was very possessive. So I never got to play it. My mom finally got me my own PlayStation for Christmas with Spyro the Dragon, but because my mom didn't know, she didn't buy me a memory card either to go with it. So over the months of playing Spyro, I taught myself to speedrun the game, because if I wanted to experience the end game, I had to. I couldn't save.
And
that is like, I am feeling you right now, because that is, except for the brother part, that is literally my story. Like, this was my first, not the first game that I ever played. I do not remember what my first game I ever played was, but this was technically the first game that I remember actually playing in my room with my TV, on my own console. Like, I'm going to get into this later with you, Mike, when we do the thing that you asked me to do later. I will get more into detail about it then. But this is like one of my favorite like game memories, because I vividly remember just every little detail of my mom hooking up the TV and the PlayStation and putting in the disc and just seeing the game just for the first time, and it was like something magical to me. So I hold this game and franchise very near and dear to my heart. So, and like you, Ben, my mom did not buy me a memory card. I didn't own a memory card until the PS2, which was in 2003. So I spent 5 years of my life just trying to beat games on one sitting.
Yeah, my parents bought me a memory card. Or I figured out pretty quickly I needed one way or the other, but I did have one. So.
My mom rented a lot of the games for me at Blockbuster, so it was like, rent them on a Friday to take them back on a Sunday. So I would spend pretty much the entire Sunday just trying to beat whatever game we rented.
Okay.
So even if you did have a memory card, you still only got so much time with it.
Yeah, like Spyro, I did own. I owned the Spyro games, but there were a lot of other games that I never owned as a kid. They were just rented.
Okay, and what about you, Blair?
I actually came to this pretty late. I didn't have, well, we never got a PlayStation in our house till 1999, and even then it was my brother's, and he got it for Christmas, and then he went back to university, so I was gone from our house. I got a PlayStation of my own in 2000, but like through that entire generation, like I never had a Saturn or a PlayStation. I just had an N64. So by the time I got a PlayStation, the last thing I wanted to do was play like a cutesy mascot platformer because I had enough of them. So I kind of missed out on both Crash and Spyro, and I kind of came to them way later because, like in the PlayStation 2, I fell in love with Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank and Sly Cooper. And then I bought the Spyro games as I wanted to kind of go see Insomniac's roots. Like, so I bought Disruptor, like their first game, which is a cool first-person shooter. Kind of has like Bioshock elements, as you kind of have like magic powers. And then I bought the Spyro trilogy, and then I just never played them, and I eventually sold them. And then when Spider-Man got announced, I was like, okay, I really just want to go back and play like their older games. So I played it on the original on PlayStation 3 via download, and I was shocked about how well it had held up, because essentially this was my first time playing it. This was 2017 or 2018, and like I flew through it in a weekend and got like all the stuff. Like I was pretty hooked.
I can see that.
Nice.
Okay, I'm glad you guys had good experience with this game. I mean, I regret the fact that young Mike wasn't smart enough to stick with this game, because I feel like this game would have meant a lot more to me if I actually would have finished it versus only playing it because Emanuel was like, Emanuel really wanted to put this on the show, and I was like, well, I need a game, I need a short game, and I was like, either this or Crash Bandicoot Warped, and this is what he picked. But I'm glad. Like, I'm very, very thankful, Emanuel, that you were like, play Spyro.
You're welcome, son. You're welcome.
Because I wouldn't have put this on the show at any time soon, most likely.
I had been trying to coerce you to put this thing on the show for, what, 2-3 years now?
Maybe. It's possible.
Whenever we did... Which one was it? Was it Sly? Sly was the first one that we did. Of the platformers.
Of the PS2 platformer stuff?
Yeah, of the mascots, yeah.
Yeah, Sly.
So I think that ever since then, I've been telling you to do it.
Well, you were right.
Hey.
I just had a bad taste in my mouth about this game, because as a kid, I remember getting stuck in it, and I didn't really like it as a kid that much, so I was kind of like, I just don't care, but it blew me away.
I think that's why I like doing the first strike show of like taking a look at all those old games. Sometimes I take a look at games that I fondly remember, and when I play them, I'm like, oof. And then I play some that I don't fondly remember and actually have a surprising good time. So, sometimes it's good to like go back like and try to I try to give games more than one shot. Like, I don't just write them off completely, even if I've given them like probably one too many shots. One of these days I'll give Final Fantasy 13 another shot out of the 6 times.
It's a good game. It just takes a little bit to get into it.
Out of the 6 times that I've already given it, I'm giving it one last chance, Michael. One last chance.
I'll put it on the show, then you have no choice but to finish it. That's all. That's the best way.
I am not joining you for that show.
But I mean, that's what gets
that
me.
Won't be in vain.
That's what gets me to finish games. Like this podcast has gotten me to actually finish games that I would have otherwise just dropped completely off of. And this is one of them where I would never have played if it wasn't for the show, because I just didn't have a reason to. But damn, does it still handle good? Like, I wasn't sure playing the Purple Dragon, running around with your square being your ram attack and running, and circle being your flame. Like, you can jump and glide. I'm like, I don't know. And then the game just took off for me in that first world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a very good first world. It's a very good at holding your hand, teaching you the controls, teaching you, okay, you want to collect jewels, you want to kill the enemies, they give you jewels, you can glide, and you want to glide from the top of your jump. Like, the way they do it is really simple, but it did a very good job of teaching the controls without having to really get too much into it. With the dragons as you release these crystallized dragons that then tell you, sometimes give you hints or say, thank you for releasing me. That's what they say.
Thank you for releasing me, Spyro. Yeah, the game is very good at at being simple and teaching you as you progress instead of like giving you overbearing tutorials, which is sadly what in the PS2 era for both Crash and Spyro they actually like started like doing more chit chat and telling you do this and that instead of like actually letting you save dragons and stuff for and just But for the first game, it's very simple, and for the other two games, it's also as simple. Like they add some more elements to it, but it's natural progression.
Okay, I want to play too.
It really is dead simple. The PlayStation controller has all these buttons that don't get used. You run, you jump, and you flame. That's it. Throughout the game, there's each level has kind of a little gimmick to it that adds an extra thing, but there's so little of those, stacking mechanics all through the game. It's run, jump, and flame. Mm-hmm. That's all you need.
It's just solid game design because essentially, the word simple has been thrown around, and I would say that too, but it's not as an insult where essentially like they give you all the tools that you need for the entire game, and then they just design levels around those abilities, and every world they kind of stack something extra to keep you engaged. Like they don't introduce like the annoying, well, this is one thing I don't really like about this game is like the boost pads. I just don't like those, how like the camera is so focused, and one of the later levels that I absolutely can't stand playing every time I play this, which we'll get into. But like I love games like this as opposed to like many games now where it's just like we're gonna throw so much stuff at you that it's overwhelming. Like this is just a mastercraft in game design. You can really tell like how Insomniac are still around making like amazing games. They just get it.
Yeah, and I was surprised how much they got it still. Like I wasn't expecting that when I got into this game, but I really liked the way it felt. Like even the first world, I had memories of it because I played it. I remember playing it, but like I had no I don't have nostalgic for this game. Like yes, young Mike did play it. Yes, I did like it, but it wasn't like I played it maybe for a month and then I got stuck and I just kind of moved on. It was just part of my collection. I don't think I even still have it. When I was looking through my random PS1 games, like I remember I even saw it there still. Like I don't know if it lasted all these years of me moving 4 times and everything. It was never that important to me. And so like when I played it this time and how much fun I was having in the first world, like going after the egg thieves and just playing the game, like, and the gameplay doesn't change as the game progresses. The enemies get different, sure, but the game you don't get like new abilities. You don't get, you always have the same things you start with, other than the rush pads that he was talking about that you have in some levels. Like they do change things up, but the gameplay is a lot of the same.
Yeah, they add some non-permanent things, like the charge pads, like Blair said, also the super flame at times, some levels. But other than that, it's still the same core gameplay throughout the entire game, and it's never really, at least, obviously I'm talking out of nostalgia, but it's never really boring.
It wasn't. Even for a guy with no real nostalgia, I wasn't bored at all playing this. I mean, yes, I did not finish this game in the way that you would consider it finished, Emanuel, but I played it enough and I was done.
You saw credits. You finished the game.
If I see credits, game done.
Yeah, you finished the game. You beat the game. You saw credits. You did not complete it, but you finished the game.
This is not the completionist show. This is the Games My Mom Found show.
Exactly.
Mike tries to beat a game show. Yes.
I think it's like, and for this, it's like Mario 64 where it's something extra to do to get all the stuff, but it's not like the ending of Jak and Daxter 1, for example, like is locked behind getting all of the stuff, and that's literally the setup for Jak 2. Like for this, you just get like a little kind of bonus clip, and you get a level that's pretty fun, but it's not remarkable or anything. So, I mean, just finishing it and beating Nasty and Orc I think that's fine.
And it's interesting, just an interesting point to it, that final level you mentioned, it's not like some secret boss or anything like that. It's, in the game lore, it's literally Nasty Nork's treasure room. You just go raid his treasure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all it is that I missed then?
Yes, there is. So right next to Nasty Nork, gate at the end of the game, there is one more portal that only opens if you've gotten literally everything else in the game, and it's just you running around collecting a few more treasure that Nasty had. Like it's just a silly little thing for completion's sake, but it's also
your flight works a little bit better. Like you can fly longer.
You can actually fly in that level.
Continuous flight instead of just gliding while you're in that level.
That's cool.
But the funny thing about that is, though, that it is referenced at the start of the game when the interviewer guy is talking to that one older dragon. He says, "We have 12,000 treasure, or is it 14,000?" And that is the total amount of treasure when you beat that final secret level.
Oh, it's 14,000.
Cool.
Yeah,
I didn't catch that.
Oh yeah.
I accidentally skipped that little cutscene.
That's not a bad thing. I mean, as a kid, I think I felt bad for the dragons as a kid that they're locked in these crystalline statues, because the whole idea is that he insults Nasty Nork and calls them ugly on TV, so he then imprisons all the dragons.
Yeah.
But Spyro, for some reason, because Spyro's a baby.
I guess that's why it's never been explained why he was immune to getting crystallized. So
The game got a game.
yeah,
outside steals all the eggs too, but
yes, there are egg
that's
thieves
weird.
that steal the dragon eggs that are laying about and all that. So
I know as a kid I got stuck at that and had to go back and find the blue thieves, but I remember when I was playing this game, I'm like, there's one of those bastards. Yeah. And then I killed him.
God. So before we continue, Ben, you're the only one who played the reignited version, right? Like the rest of us.
yes,
played
I was not able to find a copy of the original. I'm still. I mean, I have a hesitancy towards emulation, so I'm not good at navigating downloads very much, so I just didn't want to mess with that. We'd gotten the Reignited trilogy for my kids a couple years back, so I was able to play that.
I played Reignited 2. I have Spyro 1 on my PlayStation 3, but after I got the PS5 and Xbox Series X, one of my HDMI ports had to give, so my PlayStation 3 had to get put in the box, and I was too lazy to hook it all up again. So I just played Reignited, and that's the thing about this, is that like I'm very much a person who believes that games should be preserved, and I really wish that the PS1 version was like an unlockable in this. But with the Reignited, and I hate to dismiss the work of the original, it's almost like you don't need it anymore.
So good thing that you said it and not me, because I, as a very big diehard Spyro fan, I can 100% tell you all that Spyro 1 Reignited is the definitive way to play Spyro 1. And you can play the original to see how it plays and all that, and how it started, and compare the two, but the Reignited version is just so goddamn good, man. Like,
and that's what I've heard too. Like I heard the Reignited version. I mean, it's still pretty much the same game. It isn't like a different game.
yes,
Really, like it's not like Pokemon Emerald and Pokemon Omega Ruby, for example, where those are like two completely different games. You know.
No, there is no added content. You keep your sass, Michael. Keep your sass.
But no, I mean, some remakes are like completely different games. Like Resident Evil 2 remake, to be serious, and Resident Evil 2, you know, the PS1 version, those are two completely different games.
Oh yeah.
Well,
As far as different, it just, the graphics are updated, the controls are tight, and there's some like quality of life addition.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can use like the analog stick for the camera instead of the PlayStation 1 triggers. But like, why name someone? Because when this came out, it was right after Crash, and like Crash is like this, where it is like a 1-to-1 remake. But like they came out and said for the people who did the Crash Insane trilogy, which is good, that they said like we literally could not duplicate how Crash's jump cycle works. So it's actually artificially harder because of the way his hitboxes land on things.
I mean,
Like
I have the Crash collection. I played it. I do not like it, but I also don't like Crash. So I think that played a part in it. But I know what you mean. Like, it doesn't. This looked like it felt like better, where that one doesn't feel better. I don't think.
I no, because I mean I disagree, obviously, because I have played the original Crash games and the Insane trilogy, and I can't say that I prefer the Insane trilogy. I just
No, that's fine. But like with Spyro's broken up into like what 6 different worlds, right?
Yes.
Okay, and the first one that there's not a whole lot to say, but it's like a grassland area. This is where you have like different gates that lead to different little mini worlds that give you missions where you rescue dragons, get treasure, and also do the egg thieves that we mentioned. And each world has a flying level too, which I skipped most of them.
It's actually easy to miss in the first level because I think later on in the game, like someone gives you a hint to like jump on the lily pads.
Yeah.
Yes, actually.
I did it. I couldn't unlock it because I don't think I was doing it fast enough or something. I don't know. But
no, all you have to do is just jump on one of them, like only one. Like keep jumping on, jump on one, jump on the other, on the other, on the other, on the other, and
that's what I did. And didn't unlock.
Huh, that's sweet.
And then I just didn't care because I realized I don't need everything anyway in this game because I don't need all the treasure. I don't need to. You can. That's one thing nice about this game. You don't have to get all the dragons. You have to get majority, but not all.
Yeah.
You don't have to get all the treasure.
You have to get quite a bit. Like there's
50.
There's 80 total dragons, and you need 50. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's still you're still able to miss 30. I mean, some of those are near the end that count in that, but you still have to miss some.
That is more gracious than a lot of other games of this nature.
The collectathon era.
Yeah.
There's levels are just gems too, so you don't even like need to do that. Like the dragons are the easiest thing to find. It's getting all the gems. It's the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching a speedrun of this to kind of get me ready for this episode because speedrun on Awesome Games and Quick speedruns are great to listen to. Like they really will cue you in, and like what the guy does for the speedrun of this is just insane. Of how much. There's a lot of hidden stuff in this game too. You have to like jump off a cliff that you can't see and just go around and know it's there. Like there's a lot of stuff like that in this game.
Oh yeah,
that's the era.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
And then the first boss of the game, I want to talk about him because he amuses me as a kid and still amuses me. That it's a sheep wearing a scarecrow outfit, running around on stilts that you have to keep burning until it becomes just a sheep on stilts.
Yep.
Fucking hilarious.
That's a big part of the promotion. I remember the commercials with the sheep airing on Fox Kids. I remember that was like the big thing.
Hey, no sheep were harmed in the making of this video game. That boss isn't that bad. I hate the dogs that surround him. Those are much worse. Like as a kid, those fucking dogs terrified me.
So, Emanuel, what you're saying is like the Capra Demon?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Like I've talked about this before on the Kingdom Hearts discussion. How I had an old CRTV that had like very low brightness because it was broken. So that TV was with me for a long time because it was even throughout this game. And you know when you burn the dogs the first time, like they become like they like charred, like they're burnt. So imagine having low brightness and just seeing those goddamn dog eyes just jumping at you. Like God.
Yeah, and they're like dark. You know, they're in sheep's clothing. You see them then, but then you burn them, and now they're black-skinned dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hard to see them.
Yeah, and the thing is that they are immune to the charge. So if you charge at them for the first hit, they are immune to it. They jump into you and they hit you with their attack, and then you flame them, and then they attack you again. It's like those. I hate those fuckers. Like they're good enemies, but God, I hate them.
Yeah, they were annoying. I mean, but it was still fun. Like I really like that. And then you get into the second world called the Peacekeepers, which when I was a kid, this amused me, and I forgot why. Like and then it didn't take long when I was playing it, where you have these guys that run into tent and then shake their ass, and you go, I was like, burn them right in the ass. And it still made like 10-year-old Mike chuckle. It made 34-year-old Mike chuckle too. So I was like,
yeah, it's some of that Insomniac, you know.
Insomniac's great.
Juvenile humor.
Yeah, juvenile humor. Oh yeah, Insomniac are probably one of my favorite developers of all time. Like they are just, aside from a few games here and there in the Ratchet game series, and
the first one?
No, you know, not even the first one. Just All for One and Full Frontal Assault are the only ones that I'm like.
Did they even do both those?
Yeah, it was like the experience, because I think what happened there is that I'm actually surprised that Ratchet and Clank came back because it seemed that for the Future series that it was over. Like, that was the end, and there wasn't going to be any more. And then it was like, I think Insomniac opened up a smaller studio, and they kind of did, like, the experimental stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because All for One's co-op and Full Frontal Assault is, like, a tower defense game.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's the only Ratchet game I don't think I finished. Well, I didn't finish All for One either, as I got bored and I don't have any friends to play it with. So.
Yeah.
I regret I don't own those games, and they are not cheap now.
So they're not really worth owning.
Yeah, they're. I own them because, again, I love Ratchet and Clank as well, but they're not really worth it, honestly. Like, it's the future games, the original games, and the new game, and Deadlocked, I guess.
I want to play Deadlock. No, 3's next.
Aside from those, and what was the name of that one goddamn game that they did?
Is this the one that came out the year of the PS4? It's like the small $30 game.
No, Fuse? No, Fuse. I think it's the.
Oh, Fuse. Yes, Fuse is a good game.
Oh,
Is
I
it?
have that. But
I think so. I played it once.
Really?
I liked it.
I've never actually given that game a shot.
I liked it.
I've always heard
I've
bad
only
things about
played
that.
the
Because I remember they announced it as Overstrike and it had this really
Yes.
cartoonish
Yeah.
G.I. Joe art style. And then
I
they
was-
just,
That's Fuse.
I was
and then
very
they just
interested
EA'd
in
it
it
up.
until they changed it to be more realistic and shit, and then it lost me.
Oh,
Yeah, me
what were you
too.
going to say, Ben?
I was just mentioning that I've only played the new Ratchet and Clank.
Have you never played the others?
No, I haven't.
You're missing out. Well, you're missing out on something.
My console histories. I had the PlayStation for a while, and then I got the Xbox. So there was a lot of. I never had a PlayStation 2.
Okay. Well, I can introduce you to the wonderful world of sailing if you want later, and show you how to get that working. So
Yeah, it really sucks that like the original Spyro trilogy and like all of the PS3 era Insomniac games, like even like Resistance, like I think some of them might be on that PlayStation because I just got it yesterday.
But a lot of them are.
Yeah, it's all streaming, so it's not like it's not ideal. Like I think it's because they have to do it because the PlayStation 3 architecture is so bad.
Yeah.
But I think a laptop, if you're a good laptop, can run PS3 though, or a good computer, I should say.
Well, again, emulation of the PS3 is still very iffy as well.
Oh, it is.
It's-
Okay, I know there's some that work.
There are a lot that work. I have a few that do work, but there's a ton of issues with a lot of games, and you have to modify a lot of them, like
That
tweak
doesn't-
the settings and all that. Like
That
it's
doesn't
not.
bother me with emulation. Like it, I know it irritates some people. I mean, I've gotten irritated about it too. But at the same time, like I've come to accept it with like GameCube and PS2, and I'm like, whatever. Like I'll just play with the settings if I have to and make it. I don't care. It doesn't bother me much as it once did.
I just don't understand why it's like, because like on the PlayStation 4, they kind of have like downloadable PlayStation 2 games. Didn't do very many. There's actually a shockingly large amount that were on PS3 because I was buying them up as the stupid store was closing down. But they keep like Jak and Daxter always comes out, and I think of the PlayStation 2 trio, like Jak and Daxter is probably the worst.
Yeah.
Like Jak 2 is just downright bad. Jak 2 is absolute trash.
Thank you, Blair. Thank you.
It is so bad. But like Ratchet and Sly are like they should be on PlayStation 4. They should be on PlayStation 5. And same thing with these. Well, I guess the Reignited trilogy is. So I mean, I won't give many props to Activision because they're the worst. But
Yes,
I'm glad that like they have this out. Like I'm just super bummed that it never spurred them to make like a Spyro 4 in the same way they did Crash 4.
I'm sure that they were going to, but Activision.
Apparently they were going to do Tony Hawk 3 and 4, but then
exactly. That's why I say that, because there were plans for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, and then Activision was like, nope, everybody to Call of Duty mines, because fuck everything that you love and hold dear, because Call of fucking Duty. Also, Blair.
But they are making a new Tony Hawk game.
Skull Skate. Resistance. No. Resistance 3 is on the PlayStation streaming thing. Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty. A Crack in Time. All for One.
Good. So then when I do finally someday play them for the show, it'll be easier for me to get hold of them unless I could.
The Nexus.
Well, those are all streams. Like you can't played
I have
it,
good
you have
internet.
to stream.
You need
yeah.
some really good internet to.
Apparently I found out I have good internet, thank God, because I work from home. So
Okay. I also have good internet, but even then,
but they turn off the power
it's nuts.
on your island a lot.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's true. On the internet too. I had some internet issues a couple weeks ago.
Oh, but with Spyro, I want to talk about like the health system. I really like the way that you get health in this game. That you have a little firefly that flies around you who helps you pick up jewels. And it really sucks when he gets hit too many times because he can take 3 hits and then he disappears and you die in one more hit.
Yep.
But the way you heal is that you have to find little animals that you burn or kill, and then they make butterflies, and he eats the butterflies, and that's how you heal. I really like that concept.
Yes.
Yeah,
And also, while you have him around, he will be like a gem seeker. He'll
Yeah,
he'll pick up the gems. Yeah,
fly out next to you and pick up the gems for you.
it's really nice.
it is a very non-intrusive way of how to tell you how much damage you're taking or whatever. It's because there's no health bar for you. It's just you're gonna look at that firefly, and depending on his color, you've taken 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits,
And you're
and you're
dead.
done.
But it worked
with
well.
the Reignited, you have like incentive to keep him with you because like if you click it on the stick, he'll
Mhm.
point you towards gems, and
Yep.
if you're to the point where you're just about to die and he's not there, then he's not there to help you do that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I also want to say I feel the enemies are very creative as the game progresses. They all kind of fit each world that they're in, and they keep changing to keep the game like interesting. Like you said earlier, this game did not get boring to me either. Like, I mean, I'm like I said, no nostalgic, nothing. I wasn't bored though. Like, I really had a ton of fun playing Spyro. I didn't want to stop. I can't say that for next week's game, but for this game, I did not want to stop playing. I just wanted to beat it, and I just was having a blast. Literally. Like,
That's
it was
just
so
a
much fun.
testament that- That's just a testament to good game design because it's
Yeah.
like whether it was 1998 because like you're just playing like you played it a little bit, like I never played it at all when it was popular. Like I just I remember reading EGM, they'd be like, okay, yeah, it's fun, but it's a kid's game, and I was 1998, so I was in junior high, headed to high school. So that's when I was discovering like Ocarina of Time and Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil. So the last thing I wanted to do was play Spyro and Crash. Like I remember even playing Jack and Daxter and loving it, and I didn't want my brother to see me playing it because I thought he would make fun of me for playing a kid's game. And now I'm just like, give me all of the kids' games. I would take these over another Last of Us remake any day of the week.
Would you take this over DC Super Pet? That's the big question there.
Maybe.
See, and this game was perfect for me. When it released, I was 10, so I was maybe 11 when I actually got it. I don't remember if it was right on release that my mom found it for me. But yeah, it's perfect for kids.
And
And even, here we are adults, and it's still a great game.
Mm-hmm.
It just has enough like to keep you going the way that the worlds are set up. None of the levels are too long when you're inside these little areas that are different to get jewels. The game does a good job of telling you that you got this many dragons, you got this many jewels, you're missing this, you're missing like it does a good job of keeping you up to date so you don't have to like just randomly look for things and have no idea what the hell's going on.
So since I just played the Reignited, I wasn't sure if the guidebook is that in the original.
There's the inventory.
You can pull up and it'll tell you.
It says inventory.
Yeah, but it does show you like say you have 3 or 4 dragons in this world. You have 4 of 4. You have 300 of 300 jewels. Like it tells you that. It'll show you if you're missing eggs or not. So it doesn't. It tells you something.
Yeah.
It tells you enough that.
And it's the same in the Reignited. It's called the guidebook in there instead of the inventory.
That's cool.
But
Though.
yeah, it tells you everything that's there to be found.
But that's also what I like about the games. I mean, I did get a lot of jewels. I went and tried to kill every enemy, but I didn't get the keys most of the time to unlock the special chests. I didn't care. And I still had way more than enough treasure to beat this game. Like, I was happy with that.
Well, in fact, so I was just looking up while we were talking that the minimum percent to complete the game is 56.
That's not bad.
56% collection is, like you guys said, really generous.
Very generous.
For this
Emanuel, what is DK 64% you need, huh?
Mike, you think I remember?
I know, but you beat that terror. Isn't that like you need everything anyway just because?
That game, I don't Mike, I have erased that from my memory banks, Mike. I do not want to recall any of it.
I have never played it.
I
don't want to.
If it's a rare game that came out after Banjo-Kazooie, I'm assuming it's trash.
It is trash.
It's man, I really wanted to like that game, and I gave it a fair shot, but man,
I'm playing the mod though when I play it, so
like that game would have been better if you could have had the ability to switch characters on the go.
You can with the mod.
Or just let it be one singular character with the different abilities of all the other characters. And that's it, because there's just so much unnecessary backtracking, and that is...
Yeah, there's a mod where you can like switch characters on the fly type of thing, so when you see a banana for someone else, you don't have to run all the way back, you can just get it.
Like, every
That's
time...
Spyro is great because Donkey Kong 64 is excessive bloat, and this is just fat, trimmed down, and everything is polished to a mirror sheen.
And this game is short.
Oh, it's
very.
very.
And maybe as a 10-year-old, I wouldn't have liked that, but as a 34-year-old, I'm like, who plays a game every single week? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
nice.
I have been busier than I hoped just over the past couple weeks, and so I was really hoping to have more time with the game. I sat down last night thinking like, okay, I'm not going to finish. I'm going to feel bad, but I'm just going to play as much as I can until 2-3 in the morning, whatever it takes me. But I ended up finishing the game with like a 66% collection rate, and in-game time was 3.5 hours.
That's a nice amount of time.
Yeah, it was a thing because like I remember when I kind of accepted to be on this, like I did a few guest spots on the show and I was playing some other things. So I was like, oh man, I better get my Spyro crunches in pretty soon. And so I played this like earlier in the month, and then I finished it in 2 days, and like I didn't expect it to take that long. I'm sorry, I didn't expect it to be that short. Like I knew it wasn't terribly long, but like even now, like I finished it, but I'm just like I can't remember where everything is except for treetops because that can die in a fire.
Oh, treetops was terrible.
Is Treetop the third world or fourth world?
It's in the third world. It's in the fourth world.
Swamp.
Oh,
Yeah,
to wrap up
swamp, which is the fourth world.
I just want to say one last thing about Peacekeepers. I want to talk about the boss where you have to fight a giant. What is it
Dr.
like?
Shemp.
Yeah, who runs you have to burn his ass or something.
He's a voodoo doctor.
Yes, that's what it was. See, again, the bosses they're hilarious. And then the third world. What is the third world hub again? Is that the
Dreamweaver?
Third world is the wizards.
Okay,
no, wait. I always confuse whether it's Dreamweavers or Magic Crafters because
Magic Crafters. That's the.
Yeah, there's like one is the fifth world and one is the third world. I always forget which one is which.
Another thing about this game is it does a very good job of teaching you very early on, and it sticks to this, that if an enemy has the bright shiny metal on them, they have to be rammed. They can't be burned. And it does a good job of keeping with that concept the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care for the third world a lot. I mean, it's interesting, but I don't care for it. It is not.
I like, because third world is where it first introduces the supercharge, and as opposed to Blair, I loved the supercharge. I thought it was such a good mechanic.
Yeah, I like the idea of it, but then the camera zooms in so close, and the turns you have to make are so tight that it just gets stressful in a game that's not really stressful. Especially like the early ones aren't so bad, but then when it gets to like treetops where like it's hyper accurate what you have to do. Which I'm glad there's only one level like that in this.
And in fact, that was one of the notes I made about the turning, that when you start charging, like you can't turn very tight.
No. So since you guys played the reignited version, they changed it for the reignited version. It is momentum based in the reignited. In the original, you take the supercharge and it immediately like gives you a real good amount of speed, but in the reignited version it builds up. So
yeah, it's a couple steps before you get to top speed.
Okay.
We'll get there when we get to the fourth world.
The third world, I don't think And the third world has all these annoying wizards that then shoot things at you and chain. They play with the floor and stuff. I don't care for the third world as much as I was kind of saying. Like but I'm glad it was fine. It just annoyed me, but that was more a me thing, and I had no recollection of that third world, even though I know I beat it because I remember doing the swamp.
Visually, I like it more than Peacekeepers and the swamp. Like
It's very bright and colorful.
Yeah, I'm a super fan of bright and colorful. So my least favorite levels or my least favorite like worlds were the Peacekeepers and the swamp, because they were like.
Swamp sucks.
There's a lot in the swamp that sucks. Yes.
I remember like the thing about this world was like they have the level with the spiders that you can't kill, so I was just kind of brute forcing them, and I was like, "What am I doing wrong?"
God.
I played it
Again.
You have to supercharge them.
Yeah.
Again, going back to that old CRT, those spiders were fucking creepy to me when I was a kid.
Because you couldn't see them, huh?
I mean, you can see them because they are shiny and metal, but they are still like very frightening. They're not so frightening in the Reignited trilogy, but in the original, they look goddamn terrifying.
The other thing with this game, like, I didn't really use a guide. Like, anyone who listens to me on the show knows I use a guide all the fucking time. I didn't have to use a guide in this game. I was able just to play it. And there were only a few parts where I had to look up something, but I could mostly just kind of just play. Like, I didn't need to look up anything. I didn't need to know. I could just figure it out or just not care if I had to. That was a nice thing.
I only looked up to get the 100% in treetops because I could not for the life of me remember in the original game how to goddamn 100% treetops, because I
didn't try.
In the Reignited trilogy, it's easier because at least you can see everything more clearer. But in the original version, since there's the draw distance and all that stuff, like there was a lot that I could not tell in that world.
I do want to say this game actually has a pretty good amount of distance. I mean, like, I felt it had a decent distance what you could see. I mean, sure, you miss stuff because it's PS1 era, but you can see decently. You
can, because there's not like for other games of this era. What they used to have was this gray fog or this fog effect that clouded the distance or whatever. Here you can actually make out shapes in the distance. Like maybe you can't see it with detail, but from a distance you can tell, oh, there's a building there. Oh, there's this glimmer somewhere in the distance. That's a gem that's over there that I'm missing. So the draw distance is again, Insomniac are just so good at this. So
it wasn't like, like Silent Hill, for example, where everything's all blurry and you can't see very far ahead. Part of that I know is a choice, but part of that felt like, working with the confines where this made it you could see. And it was nice. I was a big fan. I was just surprised, like, with this game. I was surprised that, like, going after the jewels are fine. I'm not a big collectathon person. I don't like stuff like that. But in this game, I enjoyed it. I went for almost everything because I didn't know I didn't look up what I needed. So I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to grab as much as I can get the chance to, just to be safe. Because I do not want to run through levels and searching for like one item here and there.
Collectathons are good when it's not too much and they tend to guide you through them. Like, I love Banjo-Kazooie, but I hate Banjo-Tooie. Like, I think I played the first level and I got bored because, one, they have a bunch of pointless exposition at the top. It's like I just want to run around and collect jiggies and notes. And like Banjo-Kazooie, it's like, okay, all the musical notes guide you around the world to where you need to go and the things you need to see. And this is like, there's just enough to keep you engaged, but not enough that you're like, okay, I have 5 checklists and I have to get this thing and this thing and this thing. It's just dragons, gems, and the eggs, and the eggs there's like 1.
And something that Spyro does, I felt like it did really well, is it makes you dabble in all of them. Like, we're saying there's dragon eggs that you have to collect, there's gems, there's dragons that you have to free. You have to get a little bit of everything. It's not like, any one of them are ancillary, or because the barriers to travel from one world to the next change. To travel to one world, you need a certain number of gems. To travel to the next world after that, you need a certain number of dragon eggs. And so I really liked that aspect of it.
Yeah, I did too. I was really impressed by the fact that it wasn't a lot. I didn't, because like I said, I skipped all the flying levels and the game didn't punish me. Partly I didn't find them. I only found like one, but I didn't look that hard either. I just didn't care. So,
I mean, aside from the first world, the others are like normal gates.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't see them. I didn't look for them. I think that might have been part of the problem, but I didn't care.
They're all a little, somewhat out of the way.
Yeah.
See, I would go out of the way to do them first to get them out of the way. Because they're not hard, but they can be really tricky when you have, because like the way the flying levels work, like you glide in normal levels, but here you're permanently flying, and you'll have to like fly through so many rings, shoot so many targets, and you have to do it in order to get it perfect. You kind of have to do everything, and like kind of figuring that all out can be a process. Once it clicks, it's great, but like some of the levels, like the one with the lamp, I was like, I didn't even know how to, like, that was a thing until later on.
Yeah, there's even me who has played this game a bunch over the years. There's a couple of them that are tricky.
I tried the first one, didn't. I unlocked the first flying level and tried it 3 times. It's like, nope, I don't think I'm going to do this. The flying levels were not fun.
No. But I'm happy that the game doesn't make me have to do them. The game lets you, like, okay, if you want to experience this, it's here. If you don't, continue on. And I appreciate that in my games. Like, I appreciate that this game was like that, and it just let me jump on. We should talk about the boss of World 3, that we can move on to the swamp, which I know we want to talk about. Isn't the boss of World 3 just like a freaking like little weird genie with no feet or something, or some kind of like little wizard guy you chase after?
Yeah.
Yeah, a blowhard. That name is Blowhard.
Freaking Insomniac.
Mm-hmm.
And
The bosses in this are pretty unspectacular. Like they're funny, but they're also like, some of them I just think they're normal enemies, and then the boss fight is over, and I'm like, oh, that was the boss.
Yeah, Blowhard wasn't much. You just run at him. Yeah, they're not much. But I'm glad they exist, but yeah, they're not much to them.
Yeah, obviously the focus in this game wasn't like trying to beat bosses and all that. It's just the sense of exploration. Like it is something that they improve in the sequels, Spyro 2 and 3. There are actual bosses in those games.
Okay.
But yeah, in this one they can pretty much just be normal enemies that just take maybe a little bit more to take down.
It didn't bother me though for what it was. I can say that safely. Like it wasn't a big deal. I was fine with what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's a plus when I can just enjoy it and not care. That doesn't always happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was simple enough. There's not a lot to it. The game didn't. Yeah.
But again, to the point of the simplicity of the game, like they're all very simple. You know, they could almost be normal enemies, but there's still variety in the bosses. A really good variety in the bosses.
Yeah, you're not fighting the exact same one every single time.
Yeah. And then this brings us to World 4, which is the swamp, which is where I got stuck as a kid. As a kid, I need to unlock 50 dragons, and I did not have 50 dragons, and I never moved on past this level.
The swamp? Yeah, it was terrible.
It's not great. It's hard. This is where the difficulty starts to ramp up. I mean, I don't think...
No, it was easily the hardest world of the 6.
Yeah. I mean, I played with save states. Like, I played this on PS1 because I wanted save states. That was 100% reason why I played this while I played emulation of PS1. I just didn't want to bother with it otherwise. I wanted to be able to save.
Usually I berate you for that, but I in this replay I use save states for some of the levels.
Well, it's just for me the fact that I got to play games so fast and I have to make sure I balance my time between playing the game for the show, editing for the show, spending time with my wife so I don't end up single. You know, doing life chores I have to do, like all these, you know, having social relationship with people outside of this podcast. Like I have so many different things I'm balancing and work, so it's like I'm okay with the game. You know, the game's got to be the one that I can actually like take the time away from. That's, you know, least important. So the save states help me cut that down, so I don't spend 2 hours doing nothing.
The checkpoints are pretty generous and reignited. Like I think I never ran out of lives until treetops. Like I didn't even know.
I didn't run out of lives at all. Like at the end game, I had like 20 extra lives saved up.
Treetops is an asshole though. Like I get that, Blair.
Yeah, that's something I want to ask. So, because I remember the first time I played it, and because the first time I played it was, I don't know, 4-5 years ago, and I was pretty much able to get everything without any help. But I remember doing that level, and I was like, why am I missing so much stuff? And then I kind of looked at it, like, online, and I was like, oh, you have to do all this stuff. And I think in the PlayStation 1 game, and I could be wrong, and I want to be to be corrected, like, there's, like, one of the wizards, and he'll actually, like, if you chase him, he'll put you on the right path. But in Reignited, the second you miss him, he doesn't respawn.
So it's one of the egg thieves. At this point, there's almost no more egg thieves because they
turn into red ones.
Yeah, they turn into red one.
And they have keys or stuff like that.
Yeah, or gems in Treetops case. There's 2 of them in this level, and one of them is very easily missable. Like, so the thing about this is that your brain immediately just goes to, oh, I can just chase him later because let me just collect the stuff that is in front of me right now, because that's how in the other levels it's been happening. Like, you start chasing him and he goes off, but he stops at a certain point, so you collect the gems or the dragon or whatever. Here he just keeps going up until he takes that super jump to wherever the hell that platform is in the distance.
Yeah, he just keeps going, and he starts running off, and then you run after him and very quickly run into enemies. Other enemies that stop you. Mm-hmm. So you lose track of him fast.
So, yeah, this is probably, I would argue, the worst level in the whole game.
Yeah, it wasn't good, and I can see why people hate it, and it's infamous. Because I was watching a speedrun, he talked about Treetops too. He's like, "Yep, here's the level that brought everyone so much pain, and I'll just show you how to beat it in seconds."
And what's frustrating about it too is essentially, why it's so annoying is the platforming is pretty generous. Like you know where to go, and this level you can get through to the end rather quickly, but to get everything. Essentially, you have there's supercharged ramps all over the level, and your brain trains you. Okay, there's forward arrows. I have to jump on the forward arrows, but there's one point in this where you're doing a very tricky, very precise super jump, but you have to go backwards, and there's no indication that that's what you have to do unless you keep up with this egg thief who will run along that path. It's very hard to keep up with him.
I'm actually not sure if one of the dragons tells you this. I'm sure that one of them actually tells you, oh, what you have to do is this. You have to, not specifically, but in code or something. Like they tell you, yeah, you gotta go backwards or something in order to. I don't know.
It's something they could have done for Reignited, because I know for Crash, the Insane Trilogy, some of the exits in Crash 2 are really obtuse. You would never find them without a magazine or a guide. But in the loading screens, it's go to level 2, jump over here, and there's a hidden platform that will bring you to level 5, or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, for the most part, the dragons are. Aside from the ones that are always thank you for releasing me. A lot of them are actually say helpful things throughout the game. But I don't know. I don't know if in this one, I wasn't paying too much attention in Treetops because I don't like Treetops.
Yeah, and I just remember the monkeys look funny in that level too. And they kicked me in the face.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Those original looking monkeys. Jesus Christ.
I was a little confused at first. I'm like, did he just hit me with his balls or his feet? I don't know. I don't know what just happened.
It hurt. In Reignited, they're it's more clear. It's more obvious that they are monkeys and not racist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't think about that, but yeah, that makes
And
sense.
in the reignited, they're throwing banana bunches at you.
Mhm.
The game can be weird.
Aside from treetops, I also did not like there's this one level where there's these frog enemies, and they just put like 5 or 6 of them in this one room, and they are the most annoying shit in both versions, in the original and in Reignited. It's the blue frogs.
Frogs were annoying.
And it's
Yeah, they
because,
were.
like,
I
they can
dislike
reach you
more
from
the
so
little-
far.
The little the ground turd things that would swallow you.
The trees, they look like trees, and they just eat you and bite you
Yeah.
and hurt
No,
you terribly.
to me, those were worse than the frog.
I did not have a problem with those in this run through.
They got me a couple times, but those frogs are really bad.
Yeah, I hate those frogs. So
I don't know, Swamp just wasn't. I mean, it was all right. Like with save states, I didn't mind it. Like that was another thing with this game. Like I beat each world almost in like one sitting. Like I would start playing the game, play it for like an hour, and then finish, and then turn it off. Like I would finish. I was kind of impressed how much I just couldn't stop playing this game.
Oh, you easily get through, a world in half an hour, 45 minutes.
That was nice, and that's my favorite kind. Like I like to play for an hour. I don't like to play for too long, or I feel like I need to get up and do other stuff, which is weird considering what I do. But I can't play for long periods of time at once.
And Emanuel, that one world that you were talking about, the level where with the frogs, that was the one level, the only time where I got to the end. It was like I have no idea how to get back. I have no idea how to get to where I'm the point that I'm trying to. So that was the one time where I exited the level and had to go back in to retrace my steps from the start. In all the other worlds, every level was one shot in and out.
That tells you how hard some of these levels are. The swamp, it's just mean. I don't know. It's like you have the guys that shock the floor. Like that was mean.
Oh god. Yeah.
I do like that as the game progresses, the animals that you kill for health change. Like they go like from like looking like featherless chickens at one point. Like it just.
Yep.
I thought that was a really cute little thing that happened throughout the game. Like deer at one point. They did sheep, deer. Like they just come different frogs. They just come different things for each world, and I really like that.
Bunnies or little magical mushroom things.
There's the bats in that one cave.
It's a cool concept. Anything else? Oh, for the swamp. Who was the boss of the swamp again?
The swamp. It was this guy in a big metal suit, and instead of attacking him directly.
Oh yeah.
He has these like power poles that pop up on out of the floor, and you have to go and break them to depower his exosuit or whatever it is.
Exosuit works.
The funny thing about that is he sometimes throws the enemies from that level, and he can actually break those energy towers himself instead of you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. What's his name? Is it Metalhead?
I think it's Metalhead.
Yes, it is Metalhead.
Okay.
Yeah, he was. Again, it was something unique. I mean, the boss fights aren't that great, but it was fine. I didn't hate it.
No, it's fine.
And then that wraps up the swamp. And then is the last one the Dreamweavers, or what's the last world? Or that Magic Kingdom? Or not last world, the second to last.
Yes. So
yes,
Dreamweavers. I've got the wiki pulled up right now.
Should.
Dreamweavers is number 5, and then the final is Nasty's World.
Okay, I didn't like Dreamweavers that much. Like the game wasn't too hard, but it definitely has it. Like the game, you're getting close to the end. You can kind of tell it has that different feel. The enemies, I will say that every enemy of each world has a distinct feeling of what they're going for. Like they did a good job with that. I felt. Mm-hmm. And this world was, I mean, all right. This is one where you get the super flame, which you find like a dark fairy that then gives you a special flame you can burn down certain metal you couldn't burn down before.
You get a kiss from a fairy. He gets horny and blasts some fire.
Pretty much, yeah. But I like how the enemies in this one have like guns for some reason. Like some of the guys you fight have literal guns and grenades, and I'm like, okay.
No, that's in the next world.
Oh, that's the last. Okay, that's the next one.
That's in the last world.
Okay, I remember people having guns. I remember grenades too.
Yeah.
That was not
we'll talk about that when we get to
the
last world.
This one had a lot of wizards. I remember that.
Yeah, this one has a lot. This one also has a lot of wizards. This also has the
Wizards and tricksters and stuff, and like
the tricksters that they don't die. You just hit them and they turn into lamps
That was weird.
or
And the
clocks.
shrink
but like
ray.
as long as they're out, I don't know. As long as they're alive, they like transform the other enemies around them to make them bigger and harder to deal with.
Yeah.
That was a fun little tweak for that one world.
Trying to remember. Yeah, there's that the level where you have to free the fairies to reactivate the magic circle thing.
The
that-
whirlwinds, I think
Yeah,
it
the
calls them.
whirlwind. Yeah.
That was okay.
There's another supercharge point here. It's not as bad, but it still threw me off a little because it's another one I think we have to run backwards. And I think my problem was that I was overthinking it. Like I was trying to do this crazy loop to get on the track, but I'm like, oh no, all you have to do is this other really easy thing.
And the level you guys are talking about is one that I didn't find in my playthrough. I didn't even know it was there until I watched the speed run. So was it? So I mean, that's just another plug to how like you don't have to do everything in this game. There were full levels that I completely missed.
Yeah,
Sometimes
because it's-
finding the levels in the hubs can be pretty tricky too.
Yeah.
I think there's another like ice world, like an ice cave world somewhere that I just didn't even know about. I never
was it in Peacekeepers? Was it the one that I was saying, the cave? The ice cave?
Let's see.
Is that the flying level with the ice where you have to hit the trains?
No, I think that he means normal level. There's
Okay.
in Peacekeepers there's all these like desert and kind of, I guess, I don't know if this
It's in Peacekeepers, yeah, Ice Cavern.
yeah, that's the one ice level in this whole other other array of levels that are just sand.
And this is also the last world, the one that has the people, like you have guys that you have to like kill, and then a clock starts ticking, and you have that so much time to get to do things really fast.
Yeah, that's in
There's
this
like
one.
a
That's in
platform that
World
raise
5.
up when they're
Okay, we're fine. All right.
And the boss of this one is Jax
Jacques.
Shock.
I don't even remember what it was.
He's like
He's
a Jack in the Box.
Yeah, he's a Jack in the Box.
They're not the best boss fights.
Getting all the stuff in the boss level in this one is pretty tricky. Like
Yeah,
trying to find like the right, because like sometimes it's obvious which enemies you hit will turn into what platforms, but in this world, like there's one that's kind of in the right path, and when you hit them, he activates something in the left path.
Yep.
That's easy to miss.
Mhm.
I don't even remember. I can't even remember what he looks like.
It's literally just a Jack in the
Box?
Box with a jester hat.
Okay.
That's all.
I know I just beat this like a little over a week ago, but I do not. I think it was actually a week ago. I don't remember. Okay. Oh, I'm looking at him now. Yep. That's why he was very unmemorable. I didn't even like. It was just mainly just jumping on platforms. It wasn't like he
Yeah.
barely did anything.
Yeah. I mean,
Those
if
are
you
dumb
wait
fight.
around long enough, he throws you at something at you. But if you go straight to him and flame him, he just moves again.
And then that brings us to the last world, which I don't really consider this much of a world because it only has 2 levels.
Yeah, it's very
Mhm.
short. It is very, very short.
You have Twilight Harbor, which is the one level which I don't even remember what. Oh, so this is the level I was thinking of earlier that had the guys with the machine guns and everything. Then
Yes.
Yeah.
they were annoying.
Thing that they changed
Mhm.
in the reignited, instead of like actual, straight up machine guns, they have like
These paint guns.
some paint
Yeah.
blasters.
Very Splatoonish.
I like that better. I think it kind of like
It fits more with the cartoonishness of the whole game.
Yeah.
yeah. It seemed like a lot. The fact that they were like that.
I mean, they were supposed to be like this Rambo type. So
Yeah, commandos
yeah.
and the grenade enemies. Instead of throwing grenades at you, they just throw like, I think, explosive barrels.
I don't remember what they throw in the Reignited trilogy.
Well, you think about like this came out in 1998. Just think about without kind of getting into something a little bit worse, what happened in '99, and why since then it had to be like a little bit more friendly. And I think it suits the vibes of the game, other than having like guys with like guns I don't know, it's a little bit out of place.
Yeah, it did feel out of place for sure. I was like, okay. I just didn't. It's not a very long level, and then you get to the final fight with Nasty Nork, which this is not a good final boss fight.
No.
Yeah, it was really annoying, especially because I hate the supercharge ramp, and that's all this is, and it's very easy to fall off the track.
I just go once through the track to collect all the treasure, and then I run after him in the second one.
I had a really hard time hitting him, even with save states, so I could kind of prepare a little bit. Like I could see if I did a part wrong. I had a really hard time hitting him that first time. Like I couldn't get it. Like I don't my Spyro wouldn't flame.
Yeah.
You need to be fast to be very close to him when he stands on the podium that you need to flame him on.
Okay, I was not doing it right.
And it took me I went around the track 4 or 5 times on it, genuinely, just trying to figure out, okay, why can't I hit him? Because and then I finally ram him, charge hit him, and nothing happened. Like, oh my gosh, this whole time you just have to flame him.
Yeah.
And there's an achievement in the Reignited trilogy for running around the track a certain number of times.
It's just not a very good final boss fight, I felt.
No, it's not.
I guess you can skip. Okay, now I just noticed, I'm watching the speedrun, and what the guy does is he pretty much just jumps and glides, and it's almost running right alongside with him for the final stretch.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Okay, that would have made it way easier than what I was doing. Yeah, he's pretty much just sitting there waiting for him almost, and that's how he just gets him before he even gets there.
But even still, after you hit him once, he goes into this other room where the platforms are starting to retract back. And if you fall down there, you have to start the fight all over again.
That'd be annoying too.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first part of the fight, you're not even fighting him. You're running after these thieves that have keys.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a weird fight. And then can you not hurt him right away when you get to him?
No, he's too high up. His platform is high that you can't jump to him.
Oh yeah,
okay. You're in the arena and you have to do one racetrack to get one key, which unlocks the second one, and then you get the second key, and then it unlocks the racetrack where you have to chase after an Nasty Nork.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, they compensate in the sequels and have actual better bosses.
Okay, and I also, for the longest time, I always thought Ripto was the villain in this game, and that the second game was his revenge, essentially, Ripto's Rage, and I'm realizing that Ripto must be a brand new villain then for the second game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Each one of the games has a new, of the original trilogy, each one has a new villain, a new main villain.
And then you get credits, you see a little ending of something with him talking on the TV of what got them into trouble in the first place, and then you said there's one more level then, right?
Yeah. There's the super bonus. No, it's not the super bonus, right? It's Nasty's loot. I forget.
Okay, but in order to get this, you have to have 100. You have to have
you have to have 100%.
Yeah,
100%. All the dragons, all the treasure, all the dragon eggs, and then once you gather everything in that one final level, you get 120% completion.
Okay, and it's just what is Nasty's loot? What kind of level is it? Just running around collecting treasure?
Yeah,
pretty much.
There's a lot of chests and scattered treasure about, and you just fly very low at first, and then you open up an area, and you get a little bit more height, and then open up another area, and etc.
That's kind of what you're doing, because you can fly, but you can't go you can't.
But they restrict how high you can fly in the level.
So essentially, the goal is to get to higher platforms so you can reach other places. And one point, the hardest it gets is you have to chase egg thieves who are in planes, that can be a little bit tricky.
Fuck that once. I did I think that it was six laps around him to try and get that fucker.
Okay, I had originally kind of thought about it, but I do not care enough to want to go through this game and find every little thing. That just wasn't for me.
You're not a completionist, so
no, I can't be. I couldn't do it. I mean, if you're gonna complete a game a week that you publish a video about it, you have to make that your job. And I don't think I have that. I don't have that chance to do that.
You're not the completionist, Mike.
No.
Only
I
he has
never
that
wanna be.
strength. Only he has that power.
He's insane what he does.
Oh, very much so. I look up to the man so much because
I
he
like his
is-
videos, but man, what he does is insane. I mean, that's all he. I mean, that's his living, so I get it. But still,
Yeah, that's the thing about it is like, like I go to work for 8 hours a day. Now, if I had spent 8 hours a day getting everything in Horizon Forbidden West and I got paid for it,
Oh,
then
God.
yeah, I'm gonna go
It's a
get
different
everything
story.
in Horizon Forbidden West. But like when I only have so much time between work and spending time with my fiance, like you said, it's like you have the show and editing, and your job and your wife.
yeah, and you're trying to. You got to balance everything. Like you have, like it just comes to that point where it's like it's not worth it. I mean, like when I was unemployed, when I played Arkham Knight, I mean, I did everything but the Riddler just because I didn't want to.
And like if you were a kid and like just say it's 1998 and you
All
got
you
Spyro the Dragon is all
Yeah,
you have.
That's
It's
all
not
you had
like-
for yeah.
Like I have an Xbox Series X and I just like go on Game Pass and I'm like, oh, I was watching an episode of Miss Marvel and she was playing Super Lucky's Tale. I'm like, oh, I'll download Super Lucky's Tale and it will sit on my hard drive for months before I'll actually launch it.
Hey, it's a good game if you haven't played it. By the way,
I want to play it, but I don't know. We're also in the middle of a heat wave, so I'm just playing comfort games right now.
Which is too bad because I know you also live in the north too, just like me. You live far north of me though. I live in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm not used to it and it's awful.
And I guess you get an extra little cutscene, I guess, when you beat the game and get 120 or beat that last level 120%.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
see two dragons that are playing basketball get turned into crystals again for some reason.
Yep.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah, and the basic ending is just a quick interview of him, like, yep, nasty Nork's toast, but we still have some treasure to find.
Mhm.
All right. And any last thing you guys want to say about the game before we go on to questions, comments, or memories? Or however I talk. Okay.
Yeah.
Is a dragon
Uh,
being obsessed with gems a Smaug thing?
I mean, I think it's just a thing with dragons in like fiction.
Yeah, it is a thing of dragons with fiction. Like they have
But
They have always been
originate
portrayed as-
Tolkien.
being hoarders.
All right, I didn't get a lot of questions, but I got or comments or memories, but I got a few, so I'll read a few from the official Laser Time community. I got one from Bert Arias. The flying stages kind of suck, but overall, one of the great early 3D platformers. Plus, fucking Stuart Copeland, drummer of the Police, did the soundtrack.
Right, we forgot to talk about that, Blair.
Oh, you want to talk about that real quick? I mean, I can't, but you guys can.
The soundtrack is amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love the soundtrack of all three of these games. But the notable thing about them is that they were made by Stuart Copeland from the band The Police, which is what Blair quippily mentioned earlier.
Good. I like Police. I do like that band, but that was a younger Mike that listened to music more.
Yeah, adult Mike has no time for that, huh?
I listen to some. I don't know. I just don't care. I can't stick with music in games anymore unless it's something with certain games and I can get all into it. Otherwise, I can't. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I
Put the
can
Genesis
understand.
Sonics on the show yet?
We did Sonic 3 and Knuckles a very, very long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
That had
it's
music.
like Sonic 1 and 2 slaps. So if you ever do those, like playing with the sounds way up and headphones.
He's not gonna do it. I know him. I know.
Well, the
him
other
so
issue is
well.
I'll be save stating constantly, so it wouldn't work.
Mhm.
No, it still works.
Oh, right. Also, in the Reignited trilogy, they did recompose some of the songs. They sound almost exactly the same for the most part. And you can swap between the original soundtrack and the Reignited one. So,
Really? I didn't know that.
oh yeah, if you go to music, you can actually like put original.
That's
the original-
cool.
the original songs, yeah.
It's
That-
shocking how much love and attention Activision let them put into this. Like, I really,
You're not wrong.
I just can't believe that these things, like, I'm so happy they exist, and I'm really bummed that they're not anymore.
Mm.
Like, well, I mean, let's see what Microsoft will do when they're in control next year. I don't think it will suddenly kickstart this desire to, like, remaster, like, Spider-Man on the PlayStation or something.
I mean, maybe.
I do hope that
Not Marvel. No, I don't think Marvel, no.
I do hope that they do Spyro 4 at the very least.
I mean, what I would love to see with them buying Activision is them like just re-release all the get the license to like you said the Spider-Man game, but like all the 360 Spider-Man games that are lost to time.
Or the Transformers War and Fall of Cybertron games.
Those are good games too.
Yeah, and those
Like
are
one
on
of them.
PS4
Yes.
and Xbox One, so all they need is a license again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is why I will buy, like, I don't like to buy many games, like, but Marvel stuff, I will buy, I'm more apt to pay more just because I know that it's going to go away eventually and it's not going to be come back. It ain't coming back.
Yeah.
And I can't emulate everything, so.
And yeah, the Transformers games that I just mentioned, they are some of the hardest games to emulate on either the PS3 emulator or 360 emulator. Like, they are super rough to emulate.
Yeah.
So you either have a physical copy, basically, of it with a PS3 or a 360, or you're not playing those.
I have both. I have both.
I have them physically, but I just don't want to pull out the PS3. I'm
No,
like
I
Blair. I'm
completely
too lazy to pull it off.
No, I'm with you right there. All right, and then I do have from the PlayStation Retro Gamers group, I have one comment from Matt Stevens. Did you play the original disc or the remastered version? I personally like playing the original on my CRT. Such a great game. I have the second, but haven't played it yet. I played the original, but on my laptop.
I just, maybe it's because I had such a crappy CRT TV that I have no nostalgia for those TVs. I just don't care about playing any of these older games as they should be with an old TV. No, I like my perfectly good 4K TV. Let me.
The issue is because I have an original N64, and N64 games, by and large, barely look good when they were new.
Mm-hmm.
So when you blow them up without some type of modification to a system, which I would destroy my systems if I tried to do something like that myself. So then you're reliant on like expensive cables or cheap ones. Like I have a bunch of pound cables, and they do the trick in a pinch, but they don't make everything look nice. But when you play on a CRT TV, nothing is upscaling. It just, this is how it was. So I like that factor, which is why I just wish that more games were on newer systems with the Ninja Turtle stuff that's coming out next month in August. There should be more stuff like that, where it's just here's all these old Nintendo games, you can just play them on their new system, and they're exactly the same as when they came out. Only they have save states and rewinds.
That's a wish, but yes. I actually committed a crime, as some people would consider it. Earlier this year, I was working at a community, and we had a tube TV I had to get rid of, and we had to go recycle it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. We just and I remember thinking to myself, if I really want, and it was a big tube TV too, if I wanted to, I could get someone to come get this, but I'm I don't care enough and want to move it. And I don't want to be the guy who takes ownership of this thing. But I remember thinking that I was man, somebody would be so happy to have this as we took it and dropped it off to get destroyed. But
yeah, we have a big one in our living room that's kind of just been there for a while, and if I move or when I move, I'm just I want to keep this, but man, this is gonna take 5 people to move this goddamn thing.
I hate it. I won't. Can you hear me?
No.
I can now.
I unplugged myself with my foot.
Oh God.
Normally, I always hook the cord around something so it doesn't, get underneath my foot. I didn't do that today. Well, note to self: don't do that. All right, I have one last group of questions to read from I watched the entire Overload Super Replay. First from Carl, the group that most of us all met from Carl Klein. Never played the original, played half of the third. Ripto's Rage is an all-time classic.
Mm-hmm.
One day I want to play Spyro 2 now. I never cared. I could have given a flying shit about these 3 games, and now I'm okay, I'm all on board for Ripto's Rage now at some point.
Oh man, Spyro 2 is my favorite 3D platformer of all time.
Probably won't be anytime too soon because I have other 3D platformers I need to get around to, but it's going to happen at some point now, for sure, because I actually care.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're open to playing more 3D platformers, Mike. I remember 3 years ago.
I don't like 3D platform, but
I know.
As long as they're not 64 somewhere in the name, I think I'm more okay with it now. There's no 64 anywhere involved. No Donkey Kong, no Mario, no Banjo. I'm good.
No Bandicoot.
I'll give it a try. I don't.
Movie's great.
What is
Except for the end. The end sucks ass.
for Banjo?
Yeah.
Yeah. That.
Oh God.
I beat Banjo legit. Okay, on the Xbox Live Arcade version.
Well, that's how you play. There's no reason to play the N64 game anymore, and it's on Switch.
See,
Well,
I played that original N64 version when I did a stream, a playthrough of it a year ago, and I was not aware that it was so drastically different on the Xbox Arcade.
That game is hard though. That game is hard as hell. I will say that. And from a few others, AJ Galacta, the original opening cutscene is one of the greatest in video game history.
What?
Oh.
What?
Hey, I'll take it.
Come
From
on,
Charles Bells,
Hmm.
how much do you dislike the flight levels in Spyro 1? I skipped them. I think that should say.
Yeah, they're fine. They're no worse than treetops.
No, I just didn't
Yeah.
care. From Trent Foreman, great game, one of the best platformers. The reignited version is even better, which it does
Okay.
sound better.
Hey, Trent, the Crash Boy.
And the Fire Emblem guy, right?
Yes.
Okay, I want to do Fire Emblem 1, but I haven't bothered, and if I do, that's the guy that I will be reaching out to, if he ever listens to this.
boy.
That's the guy I'm reaching out for.
Oh boy, he would definitely talk a lot about Fire Emblem. That's for sure.
I thought about it. I've only played the first one for GBA. It's the only one I ever beat.
The only Fire Emblem game that I've played is Awakening. I love that game. It's just
They're long.
they're long.
I don't got time for that. I can make time, but I have to really, like, when I do long games, I have to plan it out, and it is not always a fun activity for me to plan
We're
it. And
recording this July 24th. Fire Emblem's going to be in the show July 25th of 2023.
I doubt it. I don't know. I don't do. There's a lot of RPGs that I'm more interested in getting on the show than that. Like Xenogears, I want to get on the show really damn bad, but
Yes.
then I gotta play it again. And I played it. I played it when COVID first hit. And I was gonna try to get on the show in some shape or form, but I could not at the
I
time.
remember that. I think that it was around the same time that I played it for the first time for my show.
I was trying. If I would have known where things were headed, I would have just made it happen. But that was a different time. So,
Yeah.
And I have two more to read from Andrew Lean. Love the original trilogy. The second game, Ripto's Rage, is my comfort game. I can always go back to it and have a good time. And last one from Oakley Gleason. One of the best platforming mascots. I still think the original game is the overall best, but the original 3 games are some of the best platformers in the industry. I also think Skylanders is alright as its own series, but I hate the toys to life aspect. Regardless, Reunited Trilogy is up there in the conversation for greatest platformer of all time as a single release. Okay.
I've always wanted to give Skylanders a shot. It's just that it's so hard to like get all that shit. Like,
Yeah, that's
I miss Toys of Life. I have a bunch of Lego Dimensions and Disney Infinity stuff, and I wish when those games died, because like when Disney Infinity died, there's like a gold editions on Steam where you can play the entire games without the need of the toys.
yeah.
And I wish they just did that with Lego Dimensions and Skylanders. Like, you're not making any money on the toys. What do you have to lose by just putting them out digitally?
That's one thing I'm hoping with them Activision getting bought, that they might do that.
That's the Starlink Battle for Atlas thing. They did a digital version that just had all the stuff instead of having to collect the.
Yeah, that's what I own that.
Starlink is such a fascinating thing. It's like, well, Lego Dimensions failed, Skylanders failed, which had Spyro and Mario characters. Disney Infinity failed. Hey, let's put our own toys that have no IP attachment whatsoever.
I mean, it did have an IP. It had Star Fox for Nintendo.
I know. They sold the. I got the ship because they our local dollar store in Canada was selling just the Star Fox ship with a game hauled out for like $4. And I'm like, yeah,
nice.
This is all I wanted.
I kick myself. I had the chance to buy that set. I didn't have a Switch for less than $20, and I was like, I'm like, but I don't have a Switch. Kick myself.
I would have bought it just for the ship, even if it had a game, and I didn't do anything with it.
That's what dumbass Mike thinks now, but dumbass Mike then was like, nah, I don't need that.
I actually bought it. I have the ship, and I have played the game. It was a good game.
I have it on Steam.
I heard it was pretty good. I just don't like supporting Ubisoft.
Yeah, it's
understandable.
It's a good game. I have issues with it, but it was a good.
One day I have it on Steam. I have the complete set. I also have all the Disney Infinity games, complete sets, and I wish Skylanders would do the same thing. I'm hoping that when Microsoft buys them, maybe they'll do that. I get it with Lego because of so many different right issues. They probably can't, but
oh god, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, so that's. I mean, the only way that's ever going to happen is going to be Sailing the Seven Seas. That's the only way you're ever going to play it. That's what I'm waiting for. Someday, I'm sure somebody will put all that out there and I can emulate a 360 and then I will play it or whatever system it's on. Someday.
It was on 360. It was on 360. It was on literally everything.
Okay, so that's how I will play it someday when that day comes.
360, PS3, PS4, Xbox One, Wii U.
So until then, I'm because I would never try to collect that stuff. But yeah, it does interest me. But no, Starlink, I like it when they do that. Oh, we should go on to Shelf Stacker Box. And Emanuel, why don't you go first since this was kind of your pick?
Oh, good. I'm the first one. Hey, I want them to put this game on PS5 or PS4, PS5, so that I can make sure that it's 100% just a problem that I had with the Xbox controller that I was using or with the PS1 emulator, because it was, I don't know, it felt a little bit weird to control Spyro. Like, I don't know if it's because I have played the Reignited trilogy so much since it came out that now my brain is like too attuned to playing that version, and going back to this original version was like
painful.
Not painful, but it didn't feel as good as I would have hoped. Also, I guess I should mention that Spyro, specifically this one, Spyro was before the DualShock, which was the dual analog sticks. So this game was kind of more meant to be controlled with the D-pad, and the Xbox controller D-pads are not great. So you can be more precise controlling it with the D-pad of that controller, but it's better to just use an analog stick. And I don't know. I tried changing the dead zone thing in the emulator to see if something felt better, and nothing really clicked with me. So for this game means a lot to me, because it was, like I said, pretty much my first game that I have a memory of actually playing and experiencing it. For a lot of kids, it was Mario 64. For me, it was this. I always say this because I know that a lot of people, they're like big 3D adventure was Mario 64, and they have a lot of nostalgia for that one. This was my Mario 64. This was the one that it just introduced me to the whole new world of gaming and all that. So it means a lot to me. But like I also said throughout the show, the Reignited trilogy just does this game 10 times better. It controls better. It looks better. It's the definitive way to play this game is the Reignited trilogy. So I'm going to give 2 ratings. I'm going to stack the original PS1 game and keep the Reignited version on the shelf.
Okay, I'll allow it.
And also, music, incredible. Stuart Copeland, just delicious music.
Okay. And what about you, Ben?
So it's an easy put on the shelf. Like I said, I bought this for my kids. In large part because of my fond memories of it. And I wanted my kids to be able to hopefully experience that too and get their own memories for this game. But it's just like Emanuel, it was my exposure to the PlayStation. It was the first game that I ever really got sucked into and could just play for hours on end. And it's, I was always so proud of myself for speedrunning the game as a kid. And there's just so many good memories of it, and playing it now on the Reignited, it reignited all those feelings for it. I'm just echoing everything that's been said. The music, the looks, yeah.
Okay, cool. And what about you, Blair?
Oh, this is a shelf game. Both versions. I played it on PS3 and I played it on Reignited. Again, Reignited is kind of like the Resident Evil remake situation where the first one is still an absolute banger classic, but it's just the definitive way to play. I just wanted to check because apparently the analog controller came out in 97, and on the back of the case it says vibration function compatible and analog controller compatible. So I wonder if it's an issue with the emulation, because I know when I played this on PS3, like you can turn on analog sticks even if it never supported them. So yeah, I hope that's
maybe it wasn't. That's why I'm hoping that they put it on PS4/5 like they've been doing with Ape Escape and all these others, so that I can actually get a feel for in an actual controller that was kind of meant.
And because I just upgraded to that PlayStation thing yesterday because I just really wanted to play Resident Evil Director's Cut easily, even though I own it multiple ways. And the upscaling is great. Like the 3D models were shockingly sharp. So I would really love for I don't know where the rights fall. I know they did. This was on PS3 and Activision owned it back then. So who knows? But I hope because PS3 had so many great PS1 classics.
Yeah, it is.
And I hope all of them come to PS5. But there's no reason other than licensing or whatever. Why all of these and the Crash games, they all need to be on PlayStation 5 on that service.
All right. And I'll go last. I'm going to put this on the shelf also. I really enjoyed it. I came into it with no expectations, and I just had a great time. I was like, this is a lot of fun. It was a really good game, and it was nice. I mean, that doesn't happen often where I go into something on here and I come out like this happy with a game that I have no expectations of. So it was nice. I was very, very happy that you suggested this, Emanuel, and I got to finally play this game.
Hey, you're welcome, son.
And I'm glad I had fun. I was a little worried. I was like, I don't know, but
I was very worried, Mike. I was very worried that you wouldn't like this.
Well, I'm not a big 3D platformer guy.
That's exactly why.
But this one worked for me. So
I mean, it's that Insomniac genie. It's that Insomniac charm.
And I do really want to play a Disruptor someday, just for the hell of it. So
I have never played Disruptor.
It's the first PS1 game I ever saw. My friend had it and didn't know what the hell it was, and he played it. I was like, this is kind of cool, and that was it. And then I forgot it existed, and then years later, I was like, that's the game. And so one day,
it has the funky live action cutscenes. Oh, they're so good.
Sure.
By the way, I'm kind of disappointed that nobody in the questions, memories, and things didn't ask some sort of question like this. But I'm gonna ask it now, even though we've already given our ratings and whatnot. If you could live in one of the levels of Spyro, which one would you live in? Because me as a kid, I always I'm just gonna give an example. I'm not gonna say which one I right now. I'm gonna let you guys say first. But as a kid, and for the longest time, I always wanted to live. You haven't played it, Mike, but in Spyro 2, the first hub world is called Summer Forest, and I've always wanted to live in that place because it's so it has always been so beautiful and colorful to me that I always wanted to live in it. So I'm kind of curious if you guys have anything like that.
I would say Dreamweaver. I like that world. I'll go with that one. And I wanted to sing that. So.
Yeah, I would go with Magic Crafters.
I'm going to cheat, and I just want to live in the Mega Man Legends world. I just want to live in a lion.
Okay. All right. And if you want to know what we're going to be talking about next week we're talking about Super Mario 64. So that you get to hear what I thought of that game for the first time playing it. It should be interesting. So that's a big episode coming up. That'll be next week's episode. And Emanuel, where can people find you at?
Oh, hey, hi. It's me. It's Commander Lionheart over on twitch.tv/Commander Lionheart and youtube.com/Commander Lionheart. You can go watch my stuff. I don't know. First Strike, I do play old video games for an hour or so. We are now doing movie reactions, which are doing pretty well. So you can come watch us live watching movies on Sunday, as long as you provide the movie yourself. And other shows and stuff that I do throughout the week and month and life.
Okay. And Blair, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Blaircade. You can read my work at comicbookvideogames.com. There you can find links to all the reviews I've done, including Insomniac games like Spider-Man and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. And my books, The Web Spider-Man games, The Amazing, and The Not So Spectacular, and The Avengers and video games.
Okay. All right, well, thank you guys for all joining me. And if you enjoyed this episode, you can find over 350 other episodes of this show out there. We do movies, comics, video games. We do all sorts of stuff. We do a lot. Just check out the giant catalog. You'll find it. You can find everything on Podbean if you can't find what you're looking for on Spotify or iTunes. Oh, we have a Patreon if you want to help out the show. For little as $1, you can vote in our Patreon polls. When you are hearing this episode goes live, you have if you listen to this day, the poll that's currently still going is Marvel vs. DC, Shang-Chi, Blade Trinity, Shazam, or Aquaman. You can choose one of those 4. And then there'll be a new poll every month. But little as $1 helps me out, and you get to help affect the show, and it makes me happy. You want to do that, right? And please follow. Oh, I said that. Please follow Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. We were on YouTube, audio only, but we are on YouTube when I get around to it. And two last things I want to say: give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hell Haspir. You can follow her on TikTok. And shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, who did the MCU movies with me and started his own podcast, Gamer Looks at 40, where he interviews people about video games. So definitely go check out those two people. And thank everyone for listening. And thank you guys for joining me for this. And everyone, have a wonderful night. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.